Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Sound of Drop, or yeah, Sound of Drop, yeah, Fall into Poison on PC. Okay, what do we got here? I've turned down the background music quite a bit. I may have to turn it off depending on how the copyrights are set up, but we'll leave it just low for now. I have also made it so that the text shows instantly. I mean, that's really more of a preference thing, but that's how I like my text to be displayed personally. And that's it. There's not much here for settings. So let's get to it. Before she realized it, the girl was standing before an imposing door. The girl occasionally came to Lantern Aquarium alone. She watched the manta rays, she watched the jellyfish, and finally she decided it was time to go home. Where is this? She had her doubts, but there should be nothing else there except for the aquarium. She assured herself that she had probably wandered off onto a side path. The door before her had a large padlock hanging from it. Just as she had heard, it was unlocked and merely dangling there. The girl drew in a breath. Being locked would usually mean that it was a place she shouldn't enter. Being open just meant that a staff member had forgotten to lock it, so going in was out of the question. Her curiosity piqued. She was past the point of persuasion. Her imagination ran wild, and her mind raced at the prospect of what might lie beyond the door. Just for a little bit. She opened the door and saw lots of glass tanks. Several types of fish hailing from the deep seas, from football fish and oarfish to pelican eels and barrel eyes, were swimming about. Why isn't this an exhibit? She thought it over, wondering why this would be in a closed-off area. Behind her, the door shut on its own. The girl spaced out, staring at the deep-sea fish swimming about. They would leap from the tank and swim in midair. The entirety of the room was the fish and their ocean. Though it was an unnatural occurrence, the girl treated it as quite normal. Wasn't there originally a deep-sea fish booth that was shut down? She suddenly remembered. At that moment, her surroundings were dyed a deep red. The water in the tanks, the fluorescent lights, and all of it was red. The girl's vision also became red. When she opened her eyes, the girl was back in her own room. It was well into the night. She couldn't remember how she had gotten home after all that. But, more importantly, she had a bad feeling about something else. It isn't red here. She became aware of how hard it suddenly was to breathe. No matter how hard she gasped, she was unable to get oxygen into her body. Like the fish who couldn't breathe anywhere but in the water, she couldn't breathe unless she was inside that red color. She was convinced. On impulse, she threw open the window, leaned out, and thrust a hand outside. She couldn't inhale the wind flooding her room. She could only smell its milky, unpleasant scent. More. At that moment, the girl's body tossed into the air. For just a second, her body seemed to float like a fish in the sea. Her room was on the 12th floor of her apartment building. In her fading consciousness, the girl watched her blood flow endlessly from her body. It's red. Only then could she breathe. Now, everything would be fine. The girl smiled. The full moon in the night sky smiled too. Drip, drip. The sound of falling drops. The moon was concealed behind the clouds, and all of the lights in the town were covered in water. The sound of it, the only thing left to resonate. She couldn't tell whether it was hot or cold, merely that the humid air was encircling her. Drip, drip. Wherever they were falling to, wherever they were coming from, the drops just continued to trickle out. That single drop. I stopped it with both hands. The sound of that solitary red drop. Can you guess where this game was developed? Wow, we're out of school. Take some guesses. Or at least there's an urban legend that goes like that. Talking about Manton Aquarium again? That's your new thing, isn't it? While stuffing her lunch into her mouth, Tamagawa Himeno spoke, her eyes sparkling. I had no idea which point in the story got her so excited. That's right. Isn't this the scariest part? That the girl jumped to her death, smiling, after coming back from Manton Aquarium? It's pretty bad. Yet you don't seem the least bit scared, Himeno. That's not true. I've got chills running down my spine. Someone who's got chills running down her spine wouldn't be eating a pastry so cheerfully. Someone who's got chills running down her spine wouldn't be eating a pastry so cheerfully. And hey, that's my meatball! During a break in the conversation, Himeno stole a side dish from my boxed lunch. This minced meat from growing cows and little piglets, it's the best. Why do you have to put it like that? Jeez, why'd you have to make me lose my appetite? I'll give you the rest of it. All right, I'll take it. Himeno takes the rest of the meatballs from my lunch with amazing rhythm. The season that I, Nakanabe Mayumi, lost my appetite wasn't because Himeno's short story scared me. Manton Aquarium and I are connected in a way that I'd rather not think about. Of course, Himeno has no idea about that connection. If she knew, she'd never mention Manton Aquarium around me again. At the same time, I've been afraid that this thing might cause Himeno to stop talking to me. Himeno is pretty much my only friend. It isn't that I haven't talked to anyone else since entering junior high, just that the only person I can actually call a friend is Himeno. Seriously, I think this whole Manton Aquarium rumor obsession is getting to be a bit much. Maybe. There's so many rumors, though. Like that there's a man's ghost in the tanks, that the deep-sea fish booth is only open on a full moon, and that the water changes into blood, or that you can hear crying from behind the tanks. Oh, that early one goes with this one. Also, nah, that's fine. You don't need to say any more. I say firmly, causing Himeno to make a sour face. Soon after, Himeno changes the subject, first to a TV drama that aired the night before, then to some cute fake nails with cats on them she found in a magazine. She then talks about a classmate who was dating a boy from a nearby private school, alighting on one subject before quickly changing on to the next. Normally, the subject of Manton Aquarium shouldn't have popped up again. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about earlier. Huh? What exactly are we getting back to? Manton Aquarium. I looked into it, and this Sunday will be a full moon. Huh? That was all I could say, the rest of my words unable to come out. So we should go and see if the rumors are true or not. But, you know, I know you aren't interested in stuff like urban legends, Mayu, but next week we'll start preparing for the end of semester, and I won't be able to hang out with you. Lately we haven't gone anywhere together, have we? If the full moon was next Sunday, I'm sure Himeno wouldn't have said anything. But I suspect because it happens to be this Sunday, and next week happens to be our exams, she's chosen Manton Aquarium. I know that I'm not hiding my confession or my hesitation very well. Even so, Himeno turns her carefree grin my way. Since it's an aquarium, even if the rumors aren't true, we can still have fun, right? Well, that's true. Usually, anywhere I go with Himeno, I have fun. Whether or not we'd have fun was not what I was worried about. By the way, Mayu, in the east building of Manton Aquarium, they have a Häagen-Dazs. As in the Eden restaurant? They had closed up at one point, but it looks like they're reopening for a limited time. Really? Really. They have the cookies and cream flavor you like too, Mayu. Of course. I hesitate, but in the end, that settles it. Then we'll go. As long as we definitely get some cookies and cream. Saying you have no money because you did too much shopping is out of the question. I know. After all, I'm something of a glutton myself. Fine, fine. In the end, we settle on Manton Aquarium and ice cream for Sunday. Since I have already received my reward money for moving on to the next grade, I don't need to worry about my allowance. Still, it's been 5 years. Did you say something, Mayu? Nope, nothing. I bite my tongue, covering the words that had carelessly spilled out. I'm looking forward to the aquarium. It's probably been about 10 years. I'm looking forward to the cookies and cream. It's probably been about 10 years. That's not true. It's the truth. That's the only thing I'll eat there. Himeno goes, you little, as she playfully stretches my cheeks. The end of lunch chime sounds, and Himeno goes back to her own seat. If it's with Himeno, I'll be fine. That's what I told myself at the time. Sunday is 3 days after that. The day I promised to go with Himeno to Manton Aquarium has arrived. We are to meet at noon at the Manton Cho station. As is customary for me, I arrive 30 minutes early. Leaning against a pillar, I do nothing but space out. Tons of people pass before me. Manton is really crowded on days off. Even so, there aren't really that many families or groups of students. Everyone around me appears to be adults. Because of that, I quickly begin to feel uneasy. Within this crowd, I'm alone. Inexplicably, my head begins to hurt. I wonder if Himeno will be here soon. I mutter to myself, then look at my shoes. Deep blue sandal boots that were this year's newest product. When Mom and I had stopped off at a department store on Saturday, she bought them for me after some coaxing on my part. They were far from what you'd call high quality, but they were still a bit pricey on a junior high schooler's allowance. I'm not usually the type to beg, but I couldn't take my eyes off these boots. My mom bought them with almost no resistance, saying, "You're going out of town, so you need to look your best." I liked both their form and their color, and found them a better fit for the summer season than anything else. I take my cell phone out and check the time. There are still 15 minutes to go until we're to meet. Since Himeno is always 3 minutes later than the time we established, I've got about another 20 minutes. I finish reading my paperback on the train, so I have nothing to kill time with. There is nothing I can do about it, so I decide to keep myself from boredom by watching the people passing by. If I don't keep myself distracted, horrible thoughts will revive in my mind. I'm always worrying about what will happen if I'm late, though. If I had actually been about a month and a half, or it had actually been about a month and a half since Himeno and I had gone out, we always talked at school, but rarely spent time together afterwards. Anyone who saw us probably thought we were opposites. Outings like this aside, I often spend my days off at home. When I was in elementary school, our family would go out often, but lately that's been limited to dining out on Sundays or Saturdays. I don't know why I said Sunday. So when I'm asked what I would do when I stay at home, I usually just say I do nothing. Doing homework and watching TV is stuff that seems pretty common to me. On the other end of the spectrum is Himeno, who goes out regularly. I often hear stories of when she went to karaoke on weeknights or about how she traveled out of town on Sundays. She's a member of an active sports club and often wants to hang out with them afterwards. Going out of town on the already limited days we have off tends to make me think, even though it's a day to rest, I don't feel rested at all. In other words, something like this is a difference between Himeno and I. Without much common ground between us, why would we become friends Suddenly, the lights fade from my vision. It wasn't just that it had become dark, but that I had the sensation of being unable to breathe. But rather than sweating it, I get a little mad. Sorry. Hearing my wordless protest, Himeno pulled her hands away. I get playing the who am I game while covering someone's eyes, but covering up someone's mouth too was just like Himeno. When I puff up my cheeks and object, Himeno just smiles at me. It's because you were staring into space, Mayu. Instead of apologizing, Himeno blew on the nape of my neck. Without thinking, I made a weird sound. Embarrassed, I looked around 2 or 3 times, but the pedestrians walking by seemed unperturbed and didn't even look our way. The culprit, who had surprised me, moves in front of me before I realize it. You're mean, Himeno. But I got to hear something good. No, you didn't. Moreover, you're... As I say that, I check the time on my smartphone. It's 3 minutes to noon, our agreed upon meeting time. It's not time yet. How rare. That's rude, jeez. I'll make you make a weird noise again. Saying that, Himeno opens and closes her fingers in small, swift, grasping motions. At times like this, I know I had better change the subject or get messed with by Himeno again. Ah, by the way, did you buy a new one? Oh, you mean my necktie? Yes, I did. I thought I should get one to match my shorts. You and I haven't hung out since around midterms, Mayu. If I buy something today, I'll really be out of money. Well, what about the aquarium? You're still set on finding out about the urban legends then? Of course, that's my #1 goal. But as usual, I can't count the things I want to do on just one hand. Okay, I get it. As long as I eat cookies and cream, that's absolute. I haven't forgotten. Anyway, Mayu, aren't your sandals new? Himeno says as she looked at my feet, talking about 3 times as fast as she does in class. Yeah, nice, aren't they? They're super cute. How cool. I want a pair too. Nope, then we'll be too similar. And these are the only pair of sandals I have for the summer. Talking like this, it puts me at ease. Unlike myself, who is childish, Himeno knows a lot about fashion and trends. Even here in Mountain, it seems like she blends in. Most importantly, by being with Himeno and constantly chatting, I no longer feel lonely. Oh yeah, Himeno, why did you bring such a huge bag? I'm glad you asked. With a hee-hee, Himeno opens the Boston bag she had let sink down from her shoulders. A variety of things come out, such as a flashlight, insect repellent, a simple blanket, a first aid kit, matches, and snacks like chocolate and cookies. What is all this? Himeno, where do you plan on going? Ignoring the twitch developing in my face, Himeno thumps her chest. Geez, to the aquarium. But since we're investigating urban legends, we should at least have some supplies. Rather than an investigation, the equipment she has reminds me more of going camping in the mountains. The snacks and blanket aside, where in a city this size would we need insect repellent or a flashlight? I keep those feelings to myself and just smiled. I let out a breath that is half exasperated, half amused. I don't get sick of being with Himeno. Whether Himeno is aware of my exasperated gaze or not, she starts to take something out, then quickly shoves it back in. She gives me a smile, implying some secret. No, wait. It's too soon for you to see that. What were you about to pull out? I'm not telling. Upon saying that, Himeno quickly closes the bag. The way I see it, it's a wonder she fit all the supplies she had out just a moment ago. I wonder where it's all being stored. By the way, no club today? I asked with the underlying question of whether or not today is a day off for the club. At my question, Himeno averts her eyes. Nope. Probably. No club today. Really? Giving a brief answer, I start walking. Upon hearing her reply, I immediately understand it as, she skipped it again. But not wanting to ruin the merry mood, I merely quicken my pace. I'm not into any clubs, but even I know it's not good to skip. Speaking honestly, I want her to show up for her club, as she seems to be respected even by the students from other schools. Coming here together like this makes me equally guilty, though. Once I get thinking, I don't usually stop, so the conversation shifts to a ramen shop that catches my eye. Oh, Mayu, do you want to get lunch? Huh? You caught that? Feeling as if she had seen right through me, we head into a nearby coffee shop. It is, apparently, famous following its coverage in a magazine for a sandwich that was overflowing with vegetables. I say apparently because on excitedly finding the restaurant, Himeno shared this. Compared to a hamburger shop, this place is a bit intimidating and trendy to me, but since I'm with Himeno, it doesn't bother me. Shoving the roast chicken sandwich with extra olives that I ordered into my mouth, the unease I have been feeling disappears. In contrast to my fervor, Himeno eats her avocado and shrimp sandwich in small bites. Well then, about our plans for today. Himeno starts in as soon as we have finished eating. We'll start with the aquarium. No matter what, that's the main thing. So we'll look into the old man's ghost and the closed-off deep-sea fish booth rumors. After that, we'll go to the shops and finally have some ice cream. I think it's better to get the cookies and cream first. If you eat 2 times, you'll mess up your stomach. And get fat. You won't be able to wear a bathing suit. Aw, Himino, it's no fair for you to put it that way. It isn't fair. Himino is in the exercise club, so she'll be fine. But for someone like me who doesn't exercise enough, it makes me stop and think. Having said I wanted to go to the pool, it is all the more important. Okay, then we'll stick with my plan. That was a delicious meal. Urged on by Himino, I decide to leave the ice cream shop for another time. Talking about silly things together, we leave the station behind. As opposed to the station's excellent cooling system, the city streets have a peculiar humidity and heat to them that envelops our bodies. The beginning of July, summer has only just begun, and I can already tell it's going to be a tough one. We weave our way through the crowds until we are 10 minutes away from the station, finally ending up in front of a skyscraper. The building is a symbol for the people of Manton, a combined facility for commerce, what you might call a fashion building in reference to the business it contains. Manton is a town known as a place people go for amusement. If you really want to have a good time, they have a movie theater, arcades, and several shops, though you need to have money. Because of that, young men and women are more numerous than boys and girls. In this town of people older than us, Himino scans the panels for each floor without fear, saying, the aquarium is... People are concentrated around the panels. Of little help to Himino and trying to take up as little space as possible, I leave the search to her and gaze up at the building. I look up and down, but the top of the building is so far, I think my neck will snap. That's magnificent. This building was built not long after I was born. It had been finished before I could walk, but the first and only time I came here was in elementary school. The instant I think back on my first visit, my head begins to hurt. No, I have to try not to think about it. Those are things from long ago, things from the past, things that are done. I can do nothing but deal with the pain that feels as if something is pressing against the inside of my skull. I finally hear Himino calling me in a loud voice. The elevator's this way, come on! I push away my headache and step through the automatic door. The information at the entrance and the placement of the crane game are exactly the same as that day, giving me a slightly bad feeling. Oh, is it an all-female cast? Oh, okay, that's different. Oh, no. There's gotta be one dude in there. Well, Kenji's usually a boy's name, so maybe I shouldn't assume that. From the elevator landing, we need to head for the top floor of the separate Manton east building. The elevator is the type that has a glass window so you can see out. This is the only thing that's distracting me from my gloom. A crowd of people get on with us, but almost all of them are gone by the time we reach the floor that contains the aquarium. They probably stopped off at the apparel or sundry shops. It isn't that we aren't interested, but Himeno recommends, it's crowded now, so let's come back when it's less busy. And that keeps us back, deciding to stick with the plans we made back at the coffee shop. Stepping onto our floor, the atmosphere immediately switches to a lively one. The sounds of chatter are drowned out by the roar of a large fan. The lighting is dim and tinted slightly blue. The windows are also covered, giving the feeling that it has suddenly become night. As this is an aquarium, it makes sense that the concept is based around the ocean. Yes, the pungent smell of salt is a major change. Amazing. It's like we've dived into the deep ocean, or the deep sea. That's what I thought too. Instead of being targeted at families, lately it seems more like a date spot for adults, or at least that's what the magazine said, but it's true. Even though this is my second time coming here, it feels like the first time. Next to the entrance is the souvenir shop, though it lacks the usual boisterous voices. It appears to be a place that can be reached both from the inside and outside, but it doesn't seem to get many customers. Just as Himeno had said, the aquarium seems to target adults. In an atmosphere like that, even Himeno looks nervous. Hey, Mayu. What's up? I forgot to tell you one important thing. Himeno makes a mysterious face and brings her mouth up to my ear. What? Did you drop your wallet or something? No, that's not it. This is something that I heard that's a bit of a urban legend, but they say the amount of people going missing is on the rise. There's a rumor that this month alone, the number missing is well into the double digits. We have this conversation in front of the metal rack that holds the map of the aquarium. Aside from the map, there is a guide to Manton East Building and information about affiliated hotels. During that time, we hear the sound of the elevator opening and closing, but do not see the people going into the aquarium. Manton used to be a shopping district, right? That seems to be why, even if there were a lot of runaways, the media wouldn't pay much attention. But supposedly many of the missing persons had stopped off at Manton Aquarium. That rumor, who did you hear it from? Who indeed? No one in particular. You know how rumors spread. At Himeno's words, I feel a cold shiver along my spine. Regardless of how credible the rumor is, a sense of dread shoots through me. Considering my past, it's natural that I would feel connected to missing persons in my age range, especially if they are runaways. If that is the case, it would send chills along the back of my neck. Why on earth? You could have told me this before. Well, I thought if you heard about it, Mayu, you might not have wanted to come. Oh, so you're forgetting to tell me it was a lie then, you little... I had intended to protest firmly, but it still ended rather anticlimactically. Ghosts may exist, and they still may be unable to come back, but that doesn't mean I'm interested in visiting places where they are. This is proof that Himeno has her own strange interest, yet it still makes me feel even more worried. This rumor has a continuation. Specifically, people who saw the deep-sea fish booth never came home. Himeno relays those two pieces of information that frighten me with a smile. The rumor itself aside, she wanted to pass over the question of why people were able to see the closed-off DC fish booth in the first place, not wanting to discuss it at all. Wait a minute, Himeno. Something else is tied in beneath that fear. Something about the aquarium and the missing persons who didn't come home. That was, essentially... Are you okay, Mayu? Sorry, I guess I scared you a bit too much. I think this story is pretty exaggerated, so don't worry about it. I heard it's a fun aquarium. I think we should take those stories with a grain of salt, right? Though her kindness is misdirected, it's kindness just the same. Having involuntarily sat down, I take the hand Himeno extends to me. As I slowly rise to my feet, I respond, "Yeah, you're right." To think that I would hear of a connection to my precious memory in a place like this. It's strange. After 5 years, the memory should have faded. I tell myself this, then let out a small sigh. Himeno is actually showing concern, so I sit down on the bench in the rest area next to the souvenir shop. Himeno even brings me a can of cocoa. As I'm drinking it, she buys our tickets. With her doing all of this, I have to go with her. Are you okay, miss? The fact that I'm thinking thoughts like, this canned cocoa is a little weak, is proof that I'm cooling down. As I'm starting to feel better, a male voice calls out to me. While holding my half-finished cocoa, I turn in the direction the voice came from. Rather than the boy's voice I expected, it belongs to an adult, so I reply timidly. I'm okay, so... Oh, no need to be so vigilant. He's wearing a gray knit cap and a brown running shirt. He's tall, even for a guy, so I have to look up at him. His build is almost all muscle, and my shoulders shudder a bit in surprise. He appears well over the age of 20, so I can't think of a reason he would want to talk to us. Whether he realizes I'm looking up at him or not, he plunks down right next to me. Even after he sits down, we aren't sitting at the same height. Pretending to fix my posture, I move away from him a little. Are you not feeling well? I'm fine, really. Thanks to my nerves and my wariness, I end up speaking unnaturally fast. Moreover, if he really is a kind person, I might end up abusing his good intentions. How cold. It figures. I say, again without thinking. Without my knowledge, what he's so happy about, the man's mouth loosens into a grin. You're pretty clever. I give up. But you know, I seriously am worried about you. Your face is pale and all. That's... His kind words, taking me by surprise, I inadvertently avert my eyes. For some reason, I became strangely embarrassed and began tapping my index finger on my can of cocoa. Well, that aside, since you came to have fun, let me show you around. We are really just fine. Yeah. The words come out so naturally they surprise even me. I have now become a complete idiot, and my eyes met his. I work part-time in this building, so I'm familiar with it. This area, that is. Hey, what are you doing? Himeno. I gasp and look up. Himeno is there, carrying 2 tickets and some pamphlets. With her hands on her hips and her cheeks puffed out, Himeno glares at the man with narrowed eyes. I think the only ones allowed to hit on junior high schoolers would be high schoolers. No, I'm not trying to hit on anyone. This girl just looked unwell is all. Do I want to say anything? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he was hitting on me. I don't know, my character looked pretty cute. I would hit on her. You know, if I wasn't just a bag of flesh. Was it hitting on someone? I turn to the man and tilt my head. Since Himeno has come, I've relaxed a bit and can look him in the eyes. You're asking me that? So that was what you were doing. Himeno says that in an exasperated voice in my place. She says, "You're the worst," and grabs my arm, pulling me to her side. The man rests his elbows on his knees and shrugs. He punctuates the shrug with a sigh. Mayu, let's go. And hey, mister. Himeno mutters, facing the man's chest. On hearing her say, mister, and giving me a puzzled look, the man shows us the plastic name tag hanging from his neck. I must have forgotten to take this off. Himeno, speaking of which, he did say he worked part-time in this building. Then is that his entry card or something? He slaps his knees and rises to his feet. He probably played some kind of sport or something because the movements as he stands look so effortless. I'm Hiyoshi Kanji. I work part-time at the shop downstairs. With this entry card, I can get into Manton Aquarium at a discount. Is it a company employee discount? Something like that. I'm not exactly a company employee, but I get in half off anyway, so I come here often. Really? That's quite unexpected for you, mister. When you become older, you'll crave these soothing experiences as well. And I'm not old enough to be a mister. Now he says it. Compared to us, you're definitely old enough to be a mister. Hiyoshi-san grimaces angrily, then sniffs in a self-depreciating manner. He appears to be a little older than a college student, so calling him old enough to be a mister is probably rude. But Himeno only said the impression he gave was pretty close. With the aquarium as a shared point of interest, Himeno's attitude towards Hiyoshi-san softens. As proof, Himeno talks with Yoshi-san about the shops in this building. I don't really know a lot about brands, so I sip my remaining cocoa and listen from the outside. My iced cocoa had become lukewarm cocoa. Well, mister, are you also well versed in urban legends? On hearing Himeno's question, my head pops up in surprise. The corners of Yoshi-san's mouth lift into a grin. That's rather unexpected for you as well. So you're interested in such things? Of course I am. You're only young once, so you have to satisfy your curiosity. We're looking into the closed-down deep-sea fish booth. There's a rumor that it's open on the day of the full moon. Do you know anything about it? Yoshi-san places his hand on his chin and looks down, grunting loudly. He glances at me, looks over at the entrance, then finally turns to Himeno and opens his mouth. I think you need to give up on that one thing. Naturally, since I'm a regular here, I often hear rumors like there are spirits floating in the tanks, or every time a person dies, the jellyfish tank increases by 1, and so on. Himeno-chan, the story you mentioned shouldn't be anything more than one of those rumors, but stop dancing around it. Just tell me. Previously, I knew someone who went looking into this just as you girls are doing now, Himeno-chan. He went missing soon after. Missing? Without thinking about it, I joined their conversation. If someone has gone missing here at Mountain Aquarium, it holds significance for me as well. Is that for real? I glance back in surprise. Himeno is still looking at him with doubt in her eyes. Yoshi-san listens to what Himeno said and with a playful smile responds, just kidding. It's a lie. I wonder if it is a lie. Because of the words he muttered, my curiosity has been piqued. I couldn't imagine the tense face he made as he told the story of an acquaintance who went missing being fake. That's right, but if that's the case, then this really might interest you, Mayu. I've thought from the beginning that it would be better just to give up. No way, I already bought the tickets anyway. Himeno's face shows that she's enjoying herself to the end, and she takes my arm to gently pull me closer to her. This was the signal that she was ready to go, and in my mind I prayed that nothing would happen. Well then, want to walk around with me? Yoshi-san calls out to Himeno, who has said later, but it's me rather than Himeno who hears him and spins around first, so I make eye contact with Yoshi-san and say, I think we'll pass. I think we'll pass. It's fine, don't worry about it. I have the day off anyway. Besides, I think you'd be better off having someone as knowledgeable about this place as I am. Mister, that's not a good look. Maya said she's got no interest in you. Himeno's late response seems to pierce right through Hiyoshi-san. Himeno, it's not that I'm not interested, but it's not that I am either. Mayu, don't say any more than you already have. A bitter grin spreads across his face. Yoshi-san waves to us. Without looking back, we head for the gate to Mountain Aquarium. The aquarium entrance is so dark that we can't see in front of us until we are inside. I can feel the cold air on my skin. I get a sensation of something heavy, causing me to rub my arm. Naturally, there is no mark indicating something has touched me, and called back by Himeno, hey, let's go. I pass my ticket through the machine. Meh, it figures that the whole if you come on the day of a full moon all the water will change into blood thing is a lie. The water's normal. Of course it is, geez. Right away, Himeno says so regretfully. Even so, she's still unable to hold back her excitement at having come to the aquarium, and her steps are fittingly light. As we come out of the gate, there are several small tanks nearby. Mountain Aquarium's first and most celebrated exhibit is the one displaying fish native to Tokyo Bay. There are 4 tanks in this corner, from left to right, each one showing the environments of the river flowing into Tokyo Bay. Brackish water, shoals, and open water come one right after the other. Himeno giggles as rockfish, porgy, and other fish we recognize from the supermarket are also there. This booth also showcases environmental problems in order to prompt consciousness of the issue, causing a tightening in my chest. Water pollution is a serious problem. Tomorrow I think I'll try asking Mom to use a little less detergent. Suddenly it's gotten like this. Himeno's reaction is the polar opposite of mine. Even as I'm reading the panel, she's uninterested in the display. Just like that, I read every last panel. Himeno has long since stopped watching me, crossing her arms and puffing out her cheeks. Thanks for waiting for me, Himino. Jeez, you're too serious, Mayu. If you act like that the whole time, the day will be over. They'll close. That'll be fine. This area isn't that big, and it's not like I'm going to read everything. As soon as she hears what I said, an expression of dissatisfaction appears on Himino's face. Well, let's head to the next area. Next is the tunnel tank. There might be ghosts. Oh, maybe that'll be with the human-like fish? Jeez, come on already. Even saying something like that, upon entering the aquarium, I had begun to enjoy myself. Upon cheerfully calling out to Himino, my previous unease has disappeared, leaving me ready to move forward with a light step. Amazing. Really amazing and pretty. With no door to partition this booth and the next, passing besides this tank took us to the next one, where larger breeds of fish swim about. This is no ordinary tank, but rather a giant tube-like tunnel, with the left and right sides connecting above our heads in an arc. As we walk through the tunnel, we're able to watch the fish moving about in 3 dimensions. We bring our faces as close as we can to the glass, giving the illusion that we're in the ocean. Just watching the mantas, the rays, and the various types of sharks and the sea turtles can be intoxicating for us humans. When I was a child, I thought the ceiling might crack, but now I pass that feeling up, leaving only the throbbing of my heart. The water is a giant bundle of blue, various colors within it shooting every which way. Being able to see how big they are up close, separated by mere centimeters of glass, is so impressive it gives me the greatest realization of our shared existence. Here, Himino's pace slows and she takes her steps one by one. Hey Mayu, look at those huge fangs. Himino, that fish is cute too. Ooh, the stingray's face is creepy. Really? I think it's cute. Oh, a manta, it's huge. That little one over there looks yummy. Talking as the words come to us, our conversation seems out of sync. Our feelings of being touched, however, are the same, and Himino's enjoyment is obvious. Being surrounded by the water and the fish as we are, we feel as though we're freed from any sense of time. Maya, doesn't this Ray's face look human? Maybe so? It does. The mystery of the human-faced fish is solved. Naturally. Well, if you're okay with it, then so am I. Thus, we learn the true nature of one of the urban legends. It was fine either way, but for Himino, this way is probably best. Though from Himino's enthusiastic stance, even as she watches the fish, she probably realizes just how implausible it all is. Rather than get tired of it, though, I'm having fun. We move leisurely through the tunnel, coming to a stop at the center. Up to this point, only the big things have caught our eyes, but on closer inspection of the tank, there's also sand piled up to our knees with shrimp, shellfish, small fish, and other creatures dwelling there. Compared to the manta rays, the small shrimp, which can't even be considered child-size, seem so cute and innocent as they swim about, breaking through the sand. Hey, look, Himino. Ah, it's tiny. As I expected, Himino has followed the human-faced ray, and on seeing my fingertip, speaks in a playful tone. Upon sensing the tremors from Himino poking the glass, the ray kicks at the sand and flees deeper into the tank. Man, it's gone now. Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is audap. And you've been watching Sound of Drop Fall into Poison on PC. I mean, this is a pretty highly lauded visual novel, so I'm really curious to see what the fuss is about. Of course, it's a horror-themed visual novel, so hopefully, if things work out right, then we'll finish at least one of the routes by the time Hallows Eve comes about. So that's the plan. Hopefully we can stick to it. I think it's a fairly big game too, so to go through all the routes might take us a month or two. You know, with me playing these very, very short sessions, or short for streamers at least, I guess. But again, I've heard it's a really enjoyable set of tales, and has some really, really interesting endings. So yeah, look forward to it. Hopefully you folks out there look forward to it as well. You can get it on Steam. It's only like $13 new, so it's not a very expensive game. And so far, it's been a pretty good production. The art's really good. The sound is non-intrusive. No voice acting, unfortunately, but I guess that's what I'm here for. So yeah, check it out for yourself if it piques your interest. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.